Sometime in April 2006, Wanna and Story went to Pennsylvania Investment and got the help of Michael C. Cottrell, the company's securities officer, to set up the securities account and company to be paid, Ameritrust Group Incorporated. May 2006 is when Wanta brought this issue into the U.S. court and came up with a Wanta settlement agreement authorized by ICJ. The banks and criminals that had then acknowledged his existence and pay back the money they had hid from Wanta by order of ICJ. They started the housing market collapse because this money was collateralized and cross-collateralized. It could never be paid back. The monies agreed upon, consisting of the off-balance sheets USG funds by ICJ and wanted to be paid back, were loaned from the People's Republic of China and were transferred to the U.S. in May and June of 2006. China caused the free and unrestricted transfer of 4.5 trillion United States dollars through international bank fund transfer facilities to an account in Bank of America located at Richmond, Virginia, to be given to Leah Wanta. This was a CHIP, a clearinghouse interbank payment. This was to be paid back 35% at a time, equaling 1.575 trillion per payment, totaling $270 trillion when prepayment of the taxation to the state of Virginia at 6%, amounting to some 270 billion is added. The U.S. Treasury IRS were to give 96 billion per banking day. Accruals to the banks per banking day were $200 billion. This is also the reason for the banks collapsing around the same time, especially Bank of America. This would have completely wiped out the U.S. national debt, and our country would have been free today. Coupled with the Wanta settlement agreement were also the Bretton Woods settlement monies, which included payments to people who helped collapsible communism deal happen. The payees are Europe, are called the Global Security Fund, and are to be paid by Wanta's settlement money after Wanta's settlement money is paid. These countries include Canada, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Mexico, Spain, and 30 billion is owed to Russia. The Global Security Fund tier structure is as follows. Tier 1, the group of 8, group of 10 countries, incorporating Russia and China, are key special recipients of the trustees incorporated within Tier 1. Tier 1 pays Tier 2. Tier 2, the 160 national representatives referenced above. Tier 2 pays Tier 3. Tier 3, the Omega Ponzi financial scam victims and investor trustees, thought to be a number of 420 trustees with perhaps 20,000 recipients between them. Tier 3 pays Tier 4. Tier 4, retired U.S. federal government officials and their families who were scammed by their own government and were never paid. Tier 4 pays Tier 5. Tier 5, small banks and institutions that invested funds in 100 or 200 million increments into yield investment programs and were never paid out, were scammed in accordance with the Bush-Greenspan never pay model. Tier 5 pays Tier 6. Both settlements were stopped by Bush Jr., Sr., Cheney, Bernanke, Rumsfeld, John Snow, John Bolton, Henry Paulson, Dr. Ben Bernanke, Alberto Gonzalez at one point or another. At the time the funds were transferred to Goldman Sachs, July 24, 2006. It's important to note it is illegal to stop a taxpayer from paying his taxes, so the Bush Jr. now committed a felony. Also, everyone should note that the most evil and crooked criminals of all this list are Bush Sr. and Cheney. Cheney is said to be Bush Sr.'s personal handler, which means he handles deals for Bush Sr. What happened to our system is the Zion-Nazis made a state within a state, so the president on down to the intelligence structure, CIA, is directly involved in stalling these payments. The criminals have always used communist-Leninist system to stalling at one point or another in a payment process so that the agreement can be reneged upon at any time. It was Story who finally summarized everything that happened on 9/11. 9/11 is equal to the Reichstag fire. The Iraq War is considered a bank raid. Hitler's invasion of Czechoslovakia. U.S. general inactivity equal to Alfred Jodl, general of the German staff. And the threat of attack on Iran equals Hitler's aggression against Poland. The mortgage situation is a very important facet of the Wanta scandal to understand because America itself has been defrauded by the criminals as well as Wanta. Outline of a typical transaction. It is likely, and should now become crystal clear, that tens of thousands of fraud and the inducement complaints will be filed in U.S. borrowers against lenders and mortgage brokers who have energetically sold adjustable mortgage agreements without income verification and other checks, because the lenders and mortgage brokers possess information on their prospective borrowers that the intended contract mortgage loan would be unserviceable by the prospective borrower on the basis of the lender and broker's own financial due diligence that they did not share with the borrower. In such instances, if ruled, then a meeting of minds did not take place accordingly, no contract ever existed. In such instances, the borrower will take to vacate the premise, which were never theirs anyways. but will not be responsible for making any payments. To anyone. The borrower should also be awarded repayment of and all mortgage payments that they have made on the property, inclusive of all original fees, property taxes, recording fees, mandatory insurance premium, plus multiple damages from both the lender and mortgage broker. They're repaid back those loans, people. There would also be no negative impact upon the borrower's credit file and rating. At one time before and during the Reagan administration, the borrower sat down at the closing table at the escrow company. He did not own property when he sat down at the table. Yet, as of 1990 and the Clinton administration, he miraculously owns property free and clear of all encumbrances. Otherwise, how could he get the mortgage? The borrower signed an agreement stating that, for good or valuable consideration, receipt of which is hereby acknowledged, and being fully seized in the property, which means fully owning it without any encumbrance, I, the borrower, do hereby enter into this agreement to mortgage said property as fully described in this document, by virtue of my appointment as trustor, and do appoint as trustee irrevocably for this purpose the name of the trustee who works for the title company handling the transaction. A document has been written which clearly states that the buyer admits to having received consideration of some prior to this point in time. In exchange for what? He admits that he owns the property free and clear of all debt. Otherwise, he could not mortgage it. The escrow company agrees with them that the property is at this point free and clear of debt, or else they could not serve as the intermediary fiduciary party certifying these assertions as fact. But this begs the very obvious question. If the borrower already owns the property, why does he need the mortgage unless he is borrowing money to be used for some other private purpose of his? If he uses the property as collateral for a loan, when does he receive the money? Has the borrower or has any party ever involved ever seen any of their money? The answer is no. You've only received a check. What has actually happened is the borrower's promissory note was immediately monetized by stamping "paid to the order of" on the reverse of the promissory note, which was then deposited as cash into a deposit account at a bank. The borrower was never told that this occurred. The stamping procedure amounts to an act of conversion. Furthermore, the act of altering a negotiable instrument after the signature of the payer or the original issuer voids the instrument.